What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. DN Dual Commentary, Game 2 of the epic that was Game 1. Probability at the top, 17, 16. Mazik currently at the bottom. He started at the bottom, so let's start it at the... Okay, let's stop. 1792. Again, we have the Hat deck, the Hand, Artifact, Trap Trick deck versus Frogs, and Frogs took Game 1 using Volcasaurus. That shit was real! So, anyways... We see an end phase Artifact Sanctum after a whole bunch of cards in his back row, and he ends up losing one of his Infernal Reckless Summons. No, that's kind of like a win condition for him. So you have to wonder if maybe he shouldn't even set that card. But I guess he had to at least appear to have something, you know, formidable on board. So that lets Probability put the red Artifact on board, the one that pops other guys and lets them be summoned. And Mazik sets a card, or excuse me, Mazik is just left with one card in his back row. Holy fucking cow of Christ! Double Artifact Ignition. Wait a minute, isn't that once per turn? Nope, sorry, I'm lunching. It says target one, blah 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 blah. If it's card in your possession, your opponent skips their next battle phase. You must have an artifact in your main deck to activate this card. Huh. So I guess that effect is mandatory. If you don't have any artifacts left, and I guess you can't do it. The other one, I'm sorry, Sanctum is once per turn. Sorry, guys. I also missed what he put in his his spell and trap zone. Anyways, so we see Mazik is now going to exceed. Now the fact that he'll have a 2200, a 2200 Abyss Dweller, which we're all gonna assume he's going to go into, completely changes this duel. Because I don't think that this is Mother Grizzly. I think that this is probably Dupe Frog or Rodent Totem potentially. But I mean, he'll have to burn one of the cards. He'll have to burn the Fire Hand for the attack. He's going to do that regardless. You just have to wonder if these back row... I mean, he has a bunch of artifacts. If he has any ways of triggering them. Okay, so he goes into the 2200 Abyss Dweller. And he activates the effect. Dupe Frog. Told you. It's Dupe Frog. Alright, so now we see Dupe Frog was negated. It just, you know, couldn't activate its effect because of Abyss Dweller just said no. We now see another set card. Here's the crazy thing. If he attacks and doesn't activate the effect, or if he does activate the effect and it's another Dupe Frog, he's going to be extra fucked because it won't be able to get over the 2000 defense. That's one of the problems that a lot of people can have against the Frog deck. It's again, it's very similar to why Girgia are still a thing right now. These little hands and these trap trick monsters, they can't get over these fucking walls. And as long as you keep these motherfuckers set, you're pretty much unaffected by cards like Needle Sealing. Even when your opponent does blow him up by Needle Sealing, he triggers. You know, Rodent Totem just comes back. I mean, how many fucking times did Rodent Totem come back in that duel? So you see, he's not going to activate the effect, which means his opponent's going to be able to... Okay, so Probability says no effect. It's Rodent Totem. And... I guess he's just gonna ride that 20 what's it called, the 200 attack, kind of the victory. He sets another monster, excuse me, he sets another spell or trap, and Mazik's kind of in a very tough spot right now. He's facing down a Dweller, and he kind of is completely in defense mode. Sets another card in his back row after setting a monster. I think Probability is probably just gonna keep attacking, going back to the well. You see, he attacks. I mean, eventually he's going to get to... Okay, so now he activates the effect. I guess he's kind of alternating them. Oops, he ran into Dupe Frog, so now he can't kill it. So now I assume that Mazik is going to completely wall up, and he's just going to sit on this Dupe Frog for like 50 turns. I really don't see Mazik making any type of offensive push for a very long time. Because, I mean, basically, he's neg like 5 right now. You know what I mean? He has 4 cards to his opponent's... What, 5 in the back row, 3. I mean, he's like neg 4. So, I mean, he basically wants to recover. I mean, at some point, Probability will maximize what he can do. So, right now, you're just seeing that, you know, Mazik's just going to sit back and chill. You know, he knows that this deck can't really OTK. And at the very least, his opponent has to keep using... His opponent has to keep going to the extra deck. So, he goes for Ice Hand. Maybe he does play 2 Dwellers. I don't know. If he plays 2 Dwellers, he's in great shape. If he doesn't play 2 Dwellers, it could be bad for him. If he plays 2 Dwellers, he could probably make quick work of Mazik right now. Who, I mean, he got hit with a Dweller early, and it pretty much changed the duel. Alright, so he doesn't go for Dweller. In fact, he goes for an Evil Gishki monster. Magic tries to bottomless it. It gets hit with Wiretap, so it goes back to the deck. And at the very least, he will take some damage here. Because this guy, I believe, can send stuff back to the deck instead of destroying it. So yeah, that's a second way, I guess, of not triggering it. Abyss Dweller triggers. Or excuse me, Abyss Dweller attacks. For 17, he ends up taking it. And Magic's in a tight spot here. He needs to be able to go off, but he knows his opponent probably has a bunch of cards in his back row, preventing him from going off. I'm not quite sure what he sided in this matchup, but it doesn't seem to be helping him right at this time. So, Magic only has 4 cards. I mean, he has the Ronin Totem, but, I mean, I don't know if he wants to use it. I mean, the Marrowgeist is just going to, or Marrowgeist is just going to attack and send it back to his deck, and he still hasn't hit Swap Frog yet either, so that's obviously a problem too. So Magic is looking at his opponent's graveyard and wondering what in the wild world of sports he has in there that could potentially help him. So here's a question. This Xyz right here, Evil Gishki, Marrowgeist, is that part of Gishki? Because Gishki are all rituals, and this is water like all the Gishki monsters, but why is it an Xyz? So you guys tell me, is this like, and I don't mean part of like the deck, I just mean, is it actually supposed to be like part of the archetype? That's what I mean. So probability during Magic's end phase gets the blue artifact, and he might be able to just attack with all of them and just, you know, potentially game them. He attacks for 21, 21, and 17. All 3 attacks are successful. I guess he did that because he wanted to be able to use his back row spots for something else. So I guess he figured, hey, why not? Magic is completely, he's completely being just like blown out of the gym right now. I mean, it's not looking good for him. He's looking at his graveyard, and I guess he's wondering what he could do. I think a lot of this duel comes down to things like Mystical Space Typhoon and cards like that. So Swap Frog is summoned. What you gonna dump, Swap Frog? Who you gonna call? Swap Frog. He dumps Tadpole into the graveyard. Okay, that's I guess. Not really sure what that does. Alright, and then he goes, he removes the Dupe Frog for Ronin Totem. Probability has no response. He uses Swap Frog to bounce itself. Now he uses the Frog normal by tributing Ronin Totem. He goes for Des Frog, and I believe he's going to try and activate the effect, which gets him 2 more frogs from his deck. Nope, just 1 more. Maybe he sided the other one out, or maybe he drew 2 of them, which would be really bad. He's looking at his graveyard. Nope, no he's not. He's going to Xyz. And what is he going to Xyz for? He goes Volcasaurus. Volcasaurus activates its effect. He gets blasted with Trap Trick Shrapnel Nightmare. Trap Stun comes down. Artifact Sanctum is chained to that. And it looks like he's still going to get blown up anyway. Yeah, Volcasaurus gets blown up by the blue gadget, by the blue artifact that comes out later. And you think that Magic might be done now. I mean, I'm not sure if he can still fight. He's basically facing down the same exact field that he started with. Not quite sure if he can fight back against that field with only 3 cards and no special, no normal summon. Now, if he would have been able to get 2 Des Frogs, I mean, things might have been different, but who knows at this point. Magic is still looking at his extra deck. You have to wonder what else he can do. I mean, I guess he technically can still special summon Swap Frog as long as he has like another frog monster or another water monster in his hand. You know, it can be Mother Grizzly. It doesn't have to necessarily be a frog. It can be Tadpole. So he discards Swap Frog to special summon Swap Frog in defense mode. And he dumps Ronin Totem into the graveyard. And he banishes Swap Frog to get Rodent Totem in defense mode. He banishes Des Frog to get a second Rodent Totem in defense mode. He's now going to exceed 2. He goes Herald of Purple Light. After bouncing Swap Frog to its hand, he now adds Des Frog to his hand. He puts a card on top to complete the effect of Herald of the Pure Light. I'm just like, why is my thing like lagging like crazy? He goes into Downward Magician, and he passes turn. Downward Magician is pretty strong right now. She's got 2 materials, so that's 400 attack that she has. So she's like 2,400 right now. 2,500, excuse me. Alright, so we saw duality on probability side. For Ice Hand, I missed the other 2 cards, but I'm going to see him as he returns them to the deck. And we'll also see that, we'll see whatever card that he takes. Probability has to think about what exactly he's going to get here. Because this could be integral to whether he loses or wins this duel. I mean, in game 1, he just kind of ran out of answers for Volcasaurus. And Volcasaurus was just like, I got this shit. Let me just get it in, dude. So, a lot of this guy, Massac's deck has to do with exceeding over exceed. You see, he plays Downward Magician. he plays Downward Magician. He plays Gaia Dragon. I mean, he can put an exceed on top of his exceed. You know, that's crazy. I guess it's just one way to like power an exceed up, you know. So he goes Pot of Dichotomy, but he can't use it this turn. And he also can't special summon. I guess he didn't want the Myrmilio or the Ice Hand, so he's only at 400 life points. He sets a card, and then he passes turn. Play goes back to Massic. And what are you going to do, Massic? Massac's looking at his opponent's graveyard. I guess he's just trying to see what traps that he used. I mean, he should have one more shot at Des Frog. But, I mean, he banished his Des Frog. So, it's like, do you have another one in the deck or something? I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. You only get the amount of Des Frogs that you have tadpoles in the graveyard. So, that's why he could only go 1. I'm sorry, guys. I don't read cards. You guys know that. So, even if he tributes, he can only get 1 Des Frog, which we assume that's what he's going to do. Going to make that last try and, you know, that last just desperate play. And if it works, I mean, could end up winning the duel. Who knows? Mazic is looking at his own graveyard. And what are you going to do, Mazic? He's thinking about his play. Not sure how many frogs he has in there. I don't think he has any frogs in his graveyard. He has Tadpole. He has Rodent Totem. Not really sure what else he has in there. Magic's still contemplating his move. Any guesses on what this face down is? Yeah, wondering what this face down is. I don't think he would have banished his Des Frog if he had much of a choice in the matter. Like, if there's one thing I've noticed about watching Magic duel is this dude does not like to give up his Des Frogs for nothing. And I think that if he was playing against any other deck, you would have seen that card. I think it is Des Crows King, the one where if you control, like, you know, 4 Des Frogs or some shit, you basically just torch your opponent's entire field. But you don't obviously want to do that because your opponent might have artifacts in their back row, and that would just be bad for you. Unless you have breakthrough skill. If you have breakthrough skill, fuck it, go for it. You know, you have breakthrough skill, Solemn Warning, Bottomless, whatever, just go for it. They all try and be summoned. They all hit the field. You just bottomless them all at the same time. Get rid of your opponent's monsters at the same time too. Although that could be a little bit of a problem with the hand cards. But, you know, I guess in general it's just really not that good against this one specific deck. It's good against everything else, let me tell you. It's good against everything else. Alright, so we see a normal summon Swap Frog, which dumps Duke Frog into the graveyard. So I guess that gives them extra fodder for Rodent Totem. And wonder if he's going to use that extra frog normal summon or what. Swap Frog is a really good card. How come they never made Swap Frog? How come they never made Swap Frog an ultra rare, like in any of the Gold series or anything like that? Like I think Swap Frog should make Swap Frog, Ronin Toad, just make those 3 frogs. You know, Dupe Frog, Swap Frog, Ronin Toad, maybe Sea Lancer. Just fucking bling the deck out. Like who cares? All right, so we see Des Frog come down. Des Frog activates the effect. Probability says you got it, man. We see that he gets out a second Des Frog. Probability might have some type of response here. Magic's looking at his Banish Zone. He uses Torrential Tribute. Just nuking the entire field. Trap Stun is chained. Uh-oh. This could be bad. This could be a little bad. Magic is able to go into a rank 5 at sea. He might have to do some calculating here. He goes into the obvious Volcasaurus, because Volcasaurus is just a fucking broken card. Hitting probability for 2100. I would imagine he's going to go into Gaia Dragon Thunder Charger after that. Nope, he doesn't go into that. He just decides, I'm going to attack both of your monsters and probably just pass him turn. He attacks both monsters, doing a fucking ton of damage. 21, he did, what, 1200 from attacks and 21 directly. That's 3300 in one fell swoop. And as this looks kind of bad, because probability, yeah, you'll get some new cards, but you have to wonder if he has any field presence in him. So anyways, he plays that Pot of Dichotomy. He puts Ice Hand, Fire Hand, and maybe Dweller. Nope. The blue artifact in his deck. Shuffles him up. He's going to get a couple of draws. And what is probability going to do? You obviously don't want to summon because your opponent has Volcasaurus on board and you can't even attack because of Dichotomy. So it's like, that's no good. I mean, he sets a monster, but doesn't she have piercing? Yeah, I think she does have piercing. Yeah, she has piercing. So play goes back to Mastic. And he's looking at his opponent's graveyard. And I think he's just wondering, did you draw an Ice Hand or a Fire Hand? Because if that's an Ice Hand, I could potentially win this turn. If it's a Fire Hand, okay, things get a little more dicey. Alright, so Magic looks like he might be putting his chips on the table. Not putting chips on it, putting the cards on the table. I'm lunching. He's going to main phase 1. He's looking at his opponent's graveyard. I wish that I could look at his graveyard, but I can't. Man, Downer Magician's $13. That's kind of expensive. We need a lot of reprints in Yu-Gi-Oh, guys. You know that? We need just a whole lot of reprints. I'm sick of paying like more than $10 for any card. I am cheap. I don't want to pay more than fucking $10. I spent $30 on 3 Yamatos, and I am pissed. They ended up reprinting it, and I'm like, oh, well, I should have just waited, but whatever. Alright, so Magic is, he moves the battle phase. He attacks with Volcasaurus. I'm kind of surprised. Maybe he might want to, I guess he's trying to save the materials on this guy, on Downer Magician. Or, if it's a Fire Hand, maybe he's forcing him to try and pop the Volcasaurus, or pop the other one. Probability says that he's so lucky that it's not Fire Hand. And it's Ice Hand. Damn! Is he going to be able to attack for game? That's 2,300. Is he going to be able to attack for game? You don't have Call to Harness or nothing? Magic, attack, 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 attack. He attacks for 2,300. Probability is going to do what now? Oh shit, he got the win 2-0. And he left fast as fuck. I gotta just see the chat. Oh shit, man. Yo, frogs are too strong, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, frogs are a thing.